You have to get started. Once you get started, you'll continue. Hi, Steve Kaufman here again. And today I want to talk to you about my advice for a first-time language learner. Remember, if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe, click on the bell for notifications, and if you follow me on a podcast service, please leave a comment. So, the reason I want to talk about this is I have a brother, an older brother, and he lives in Windsor, Ontario, not far from Toronto. I went to visit him. He's kind of, bedridden. So I want to go there. I wanted to go there and cheer him up and give him things to do because he's in the bed. Like he does exercises to try to get, strengthen his muscles. But for a variety of reasons that I won't get into, it's going to be a bit of a chore for him. It's going to take him a while before he gradually gets, more mobile. So I said, okay, got to get the brain moving as well. So I bought him an iPad and I said, first of all, you should do Scrabble because as kids, we used to love playing Scrabble. And the great thing about doing Scrabble on the iPad, which my wife does, I don't do, is that the other person, like you're playing against the computer puts a word out right away. So you don't have to wait. The worst thing in Scrabble to me was I was fairly quick at putting out a word, and then if I had one opponent or two opponents, it would take forever before I had a turn again. Whereas if you play with the computer, it's instant, which is kind of fun. So I got my brother onto Scrabble, and I also said, you should learn a language. Which language do you want to learn? Spanish. Okay, get on Link and learn Spanish. So, okay, whatever. He wasn't tremendously motivated, but at some level, he would like to learn Spanish. He does speak French, grew up in Montreal. And anyway, he calls me the other day and he says, Steve, I have a real problem in using Link. Oh, okay. So I thought maybe it was something with our functionality and so forth. And he said, no, it's like all these words, I forget them. So these Spanish words, as soon as I learn something, look it up, I've forgotten it. And I thought to myself, how many people become disappointed or frustrated because they can't remember things? To me, it's obvious that I'm not going to remember. I have to see the words 10 times. And then there are words that I know, and then I'll forget them again in Persian or Arabic. So I thought to myself, there are so many people who at some level would like to learn a language and, they just never get anywhere. So these are not the keeners, the people who know what they want to do in language, who say understand Link or who like Link or don't like Link, but they know that they want to learn a language and they know what they have to do. But the vast majority of people don't. The vast majority of people may even go to a bookstore and buy a book on language learning and never do much. So I would like to suggest 3 bits of advice for someone who is not kind of an experienced language learner or maybe trying to learn their first language. The first thing is just get started. There are expressions that exist in many languages, the gist of which is the first step is the job half done. It doesn't matter whether it's, I'm power washing my deck, okay? You have to get started. Once you get started, you'll continue. I got to finish the deck. But as long as I look at it and don't do anything, it's not going to happen. So the first thing is, if you'll just get started. And I thought, again, with my brother, I finally got him to get started. Okay, get started. The second thing is, try to create a habit. I mean, we all know that if we haven't been exercising for a while and then we go to the gym, the first 2 or 3 sessions are difficult. But if we are able to create a habit where we go to the gym regularly, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, we start to feel unhappy if we haven't had that exercise because we've created a habit at different levels, both, psychologically and physically. We've developed this dependence, this need for that regular activity. And I feel that way about my language learning. If I let too many days go by where I haven't, spent time with the language that I'm learning, it bothers me. So I have that habit, for better or for worse. But if you can create a habit, that will drive you to keep going. So First of all, get started. Second of all, try to create a habit to do certain things. That's why we have so many things that link, like, maintaining your streak or following your statistics. Because sometimes you need that kind of, little nudge all the time to keep you going. Because if you put in the time, you will improve. That gets back to the statement that I heard from this director of the San Diego University language department, who said there's only two things that matter in language learning: the attitude of the learner and the time you put in. So you've got to put in the time. You've got to keep going. So whatever it takes to develop a habit so that you keep going. The third thing is, and if I expand from, the attitude of the learner and the time you put in to this formula from Kato Lom, or Lom Kato, Hungarian polyglot, she had this equation, which basically was sort of the time you put in and the attitude divided by negativity, frustration, inhibition, fear, all of the negative stuff. So you have to put in the time, you have to have a positive attitude, you have to want to learn, you have to think you can learn, but you have to minimize the negative stuff. So if you forget, that's normal. Don't expect to remember. Recognize that if you keep putting the time in, if you keep a positive attitude, you will learn. And I think very often the beginner language learner thinks that they have to learn these rules, and if they don't remember the rules, then they won't learn the language, or they've been at it for several months and they still can't speak, and so this negativity comes in. I still can't do anything. I'm no good. And yet, the beginner language learner has to understand that with enough exposure to the language, if you can develop a habit, first of all, you have to get started. And then you develop this habit that you are regularly listening and reading to, and do whatever you like to do. If it's Duolingo, I'm not going to, personally, I prefer working with Link, but as I've said many times, people should do what they want to do so that they enjoy it. But stay with it. Keep doing it. And when you encounter difficulties, and I think I keep saying it, and yet it's so important for beginner language learners to realize, you get it wrong, it doesn't matter. You can't remember, it doesn't matter. You don't understand, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters, except the fact that you maintain a positive attitude, believe that you will eventually get there, and keep on putting in the time. And in order to keep on putting in the time, you may have to set up some routine that helps you create this habit. So this is kind of what I told my brother. And I thought to myself, it's not just my brother. It's many people who at some level would like to be fluent in another language, would like to be good language learners, think they aren't good language learners, and therefore they end up not achieving very much. So I hope that's helpful to those of you, and maybe people who listen to me are all good language learners, but maybe some of your friends are not. So I hope that's helpful. Thanks. And I think I'll leave you with two videos from before, where I talk about being a lazy language learner, and I also talk about the 3 keys to language learning success. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.